Today I want to share a classic spring capsule wardrobe that I've put together in order to illustrate the ideas that I talk about on this channel. So really drive home this concept of interchangeable wardrobe pieces and mixing and matching, and how if you carefully select your pieces, you can really do a lot with very little within your personal style. And I find it to be very helpful as I've developed my style and really started to figure out what's worked for me and what hasn't. So let's get started. So now for anyone unfamiliar with what a capsule wardrobe is, let's quickly go over the concept. And essentially it refers to a couple of pieces that are interchangeable, things that you can mix and match in order to create a lot of outfits. And we started seeing this a lot around the 1940s, and then around 1970, someone by the name of Susie Faux took it even further and introduced the idea of interchangeable pieces that are also seasonless and trendless. And that's the concept that I think most of us are familiar with today, and that's the concept that I'm using for this capsule. I find it to be really helpful, especially as you first start out with a capsule wardrobe, because if you can keep things as classic as possible, not only do you increase the versatility of those pieces, but you allow yourself to really figure out what you like, and if fully classic really works for you, or if you can tweak things in order to get something that's perfect. Anytime I'm putting together a capsule, I recommend starting with the season and then the weather first, and this is a really helpful starting point because understanding those two can help you filter out your wardrobe and pull out pieces that will work. So for this one, we're doing spring, and for the weather, I'm working with kind of traditional spring weather. So nothing too hot, nothing too cold. And even though where I live, it gets very hot very quickly, I'm using this one as a good starting point for weather that you might experience with a lot of fluctuations, colder days, and then working up into warmer days. The next thing I like to do is to pull out a couple key style words, and this is what I recommend as you're creating your personal style, and especially as you're trying to whittle that into a capsule, this can be really helpful. And in the instance of this capsule, using what we talked about earlier, I want this one to be classic, I want it to be elegant, I want it to be timeless, and then I want it to be versatile. And those are influencing the silhouettes that I've chosen, and then ultimately the color palette, and allowing those to really work together really well. So using those key style words, I've isolated a color palette that really reflects that type of energy. And so I'm working with navy rather than black. I think that navy is really great for spring, and navy also is a lot more versatile for most wardrobes, and I find it to be a really great color for pretty much everybody. And then I've also added in white, and then a tiny bit of off-white. Those kind of off-white and white shades work really beautifully with navy, and I think are really excellent for spring as well. And then for accent colors, I've got shades of blue and a lot of lighter blue, and then also a tiny bit of gray. And all of these colors all work together to create a really beautiful color palette, one that's really classic, really timeless for this time of the year, and also very versatile. Now let's go over the pieces that I've chosen from my overall wardrobe to cultivate this smaller capsule. And these are things that really represent everything we've talked about. The color palette, those key style words, the objective, the season, the weather, and the optimum versatility, and how they're able to pair together. So when it comes to tops, I've started with a really beautiful blue and white top that ties in those blue and white colors from the color palette, something that's a little bit softer and a tiny bit romantic. I've also added in a white top, and the thing that I want to talk about here with this white top is this one in particular. It's got the short sleeves, it's got a tiny little peplum and some ruffly details, and this can feel totally different from other versions of a white top. So when you're selecting this for yourself and your own wardrobe, pay attention to how those things influence your overall feeling. So if I were to choose this top, it feels different than a really stiff cotton white poplin top, or something that's maybe somewhere in the middle, something that's white or off-white but in a really lightweight silk. Different energy behind all of them, even though the concept of the white shirt is still maintained. I've also included a sandy colored sweater set, and I find this to be one of my favorite pieces this time of the year. Really versatile and really comfortable, and also really great for transitional weather. And then I've also added a silk tank top and a cropped cashmere sweater cardigan. I think together these work really well, and this type of combination is very classic, and so it really speaks to that type of energy. I've also included a blue silk shirt and then also a navy sweater, and much like the white shirt, I wanted to touch really quickly on the silhouette of this navy sweater and how if you were to take this classic one that I have here, that feels very, very classic, very timeless, and very versatile, but you could also change that a little bit and maybe go for something with like a puff sleeve, a little bit more of a cinched waist. And the energy behind either of these can be really great for this type of capsule, but you can lean into one more than another depending on your preference. For bottoms, I included a pair of long white pants. These are a little bit of a wider leg, and I find it to be a really great style for this time of the year, and also tiny bit trendy. This silhouette is very popular right now, but still very classic. And then I've also included a pair of gray jeans, and I went for gray because for my color palette, I love gray, and gray I find is really great with the other colors in this capsule, but you could very easily go for a traditional darker denim color, something kind of like a rich blue, or you could go for something lighter. And going for a lighter wash changes the energy of this capsule completely and gives you a whole different vibe for your outfits. So you can see just by swapping the gray for a lighter wash pair of jeans, everything feels a little bit more casual, but then also a little bit lighter and brighter. So definitely play with this as you curate your own capsule for spring and find what's going to be perfect for you. And then I also included a pair of navy pants, and I wanted the versatility of a navy top and navy pants because wearing those together is perfect for creating this type of capsule, something that feels very, very classic. But then also I wanted the silhouette to be very timeless, so they're very fitted in a kind of traditional way, not too tight, not too loose. But then you could change this again if you were to go for something a little bit higher waisted, maybe with a cinched waist and then something with a tapered ankle. That's going to feel a little bit more romantic and inject some of that energy into this capsule as well. And then for shoes and accessories, I've included a pair of ballet flats and kitten heels. These are dictated by personal preference, so definitely make sure you choose something that's going to be working for you and what you like to wear and what's going to be the most comfortable. And then I've also included a clutch and a top handle bag, both of them in this same color palette, and then also a small silk scarf, again that complements the overall energy of this type of wardrobe, and then also the color palette. And then I didn't include any coats or jackets because I really wanted to show the versatility of your base layers and how choosing those carefully can allow you to then put any coat or jacket on top of it. But for this type of capsule, something like a trench coat would be really great, a beautiful tweed jacket, something again in a lighter shade to really bring in that spring feeling. You could even do something like a lighter wool coat, something that's going to be a little bit more versatile and warm for where you're living, or even something like a denim jacket. As long as you figure out your base, you can put pretty much any top layer on top of it and really allow that to come down to function for you and what you need and what's going to work for the weather that you have this time of the year. So to close out this video, I put together a small lookbook of some of the outfits that you can create using this capsule. And you'll notice that the energy of our style words is definitely carrying throughout all of the looks. They feel very timeless, very classic, and very elegant, but that by changing up the shoes and then the accessories, they either feel a little bit dressy or a little bit more formal. So keeping that in mind as you develop this for yourself can be really helpful. And it's also going to be something you're going to figure out just by actually putting outfits together. So I hope that this is helpful for you. And like always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Have a great day.